So good morning, everybody. Welcome to NeoSystems Coffee Break series on NeoFlow, our standardized pre-built best practice workflow solution that builds on Neo's expertise in system integration through the Integrify workflow tool. From now through mid-September, we'll be discussing each of the 9 workflow applications that the NeoSystems BPI team has developed. In case you can't attend any of the other sessions, be sure to be on the lookout for any of the other recordings. We will cover our payables. Today we'll be doing billing, vendor maintenance, vendor ratings, employee management, journal entry approval, financial statement approval, employee workforce, and travel authorization. My name is Marty Herbert. I'm the practice lead for the BPI team at NeoSystems. And today I'll be flying solo to discuss the billing process. I encourage you each to enter in any of your questions during the session into the Q&A area, and we'll go ahead and get started. So as you may or may not know, NeoFlow is really all about standardizing processes. Each of these flows provides a great baseline of best practice tasks to use as is out of the box, or even to configure further to handle those specific items that give you the most problems. Now, today, a little bit different. Before we get started, I do want to take a quick poll. And I just want to poll the audience to see, does anybody on today, were you able to attend last week's payable process discussion and, kind of see, who we have in attendance for today's session. So last week, just in case you weren't aware, we did talk a little bit about payables. So as we, as we kind of wait for everybody to kind of chime in, and I know some of those are a little bit interesting. Yes, it's my first time, and billing is riveting. Maybe the two are mutually exclusive. And the payables discussion last week, we did have Jay from my team on as we kind of did that. So we'll go ahead and just give it another second here. All right, I think we've got just about everybody recording in. Perfect. All right. So it looks like, yes, it's my first time and billing is riveting. So is this your first coffee talk? Great. Glad to have you. Glad to see everybody join in. Glad to see that we do have somebody from, somebody out there that was out there last week listening to the payables. And there were more. So how do you find those? Best way to do that is go ahead and post into the Q&A section. Hey, I'd like to know where that is. We'll make sure we get you the link. That way you can go back and see the recording from last week. So glad to have everybody aboard today. Hopefully you're going to learn a little bit of something today, and stick around for the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk a little bit more about these and what we've been doing to kind of transform each of these processes. So today, again, we're going to talk a little bit about the billing process. So really, you think about it, the name of the game for billing is cash flow, right? We need to get these out there as quick as possible. So for cash flow, we talked last week about payables. So in order for payables to be a problem or to have some issues, if a lot of people have issues over there in payables, you have to have the flip side of the coin. So billing also has to be a problem for many others. So it's really important to start whenever we talk about billing about, where did NeoSystems get the idea to standardize this, and how did it come about? So I do get asked a lot, where did the NeoFlows come from? And we'll try to discuss that each week. But for billing in particular, for 8 years, really, NeoSystems has been using and implementing Integrify workflows. Billing was actually the very first one that we implemented internally as well. So we were seeing bills just to get them out the door. I mean, the approvals were taking a really long time. In one extreme case, we had one of our approvers who was taking 12 to 14 days just to get a bill approved that, yes, we can go ahead and send this to our customer. And if you think about the amount of time that is delaying payment on the other end, it really can impact a business. So through standardization, so through talking to our different stakeholders internally, we took that first process out of the gate in an older version, we reduced that to under 2 days. So our target internally was actually 24 hours for those approvals to happen. And we definitely got it under 24. Now I'd say we're kind of leveling out somewhere under that 2-day mark. And for our larger clients, we actually had one where they implemented a fixed price billing process, very similar to our NeoFlow, and they reduced their processing time for just getting those bills out the door, reduced the processing time by 3 days, and actually improved their DSO, their days sales outstanding, by a full week, by 7 days. So the methods and the process improvements that we've implemented internally and for our clients over the years have really gone into building out what amounts to a pretty simplified but very effective process for your billing approvals. So I get, of course, the next thing is, what does it do? What does NeoFlow billing do? Really, the first thing that it does, process allows your accounting team to really learn and implement the process very quickly. So it is one of the processes that we have that provides the quickest return on investment. It's pretty easy to learn, pretty easy to get up and running, and get it out the door, because the integration with Costpoint is such that it's pulling the key information in the right way. So we've configured this process to get the right information out of Costpoint and into the hands of the approvers and managers responsible for ensuring the accuracy of the bills before they go out the door. So how do we do this? Well, it's really a combination of different efforts. So, the first thing really to think about here is that Costpoint itself does bills pretty well. It gets them ready, right? It gets the bill ready for your customer. So that's really where the process starts, even before the NeoFlow is launched to support that, support the rest of the process. So accounting team is going to go into the front end of Costpoint. They're going to prepare their bill the way they normally would. And then when they're ready to get this approved and pushed through the different levels or people that need to approve it before it goes to the client, they're going to then start this process. So what does the process then do to kind of help the situation? Well, if we're already preparing the bill, can't we just send it? Well, kind of. But if you think about your internal controls and you think about compliance and things like that, a lot of your auditors are going to want to see what you did and how you can ensure that the billing is correct, right? So part of that is you have the system set up correctly, you have Costpoint set up correctly. The other part is that you have people who review that information. Part of your internal control structure does that. So what the system does, what NeoFlow billing does, is it pulls key billing information down to the line item. So it actually will pull in your billing line item data into the request, into the form. So from the accounting team perspective, they've done all the work. They just need to send it for approval. So with the NeoFlow, they select the invoice that they want to send for approval, attach a copy of the bill, whether it's the Costpoint version or some other fancier version of the bill. They add that into the workflow and they're ready to go. They push the button, ready to move it forward. But the other question is, well, what about the different ways that we do process kickoffs? So we had a particular issue internally where some of our bills before they went out, just single person, just get it approved and get it out the door. But we also had situations where we had multiple bills or multiple pieces of a bill that needed to go to different line of business managers and approvers before it went out to our customers. So we had to build in that flexibility. So what we did in order to ensure the flexibility of the process is we actually designed it to allow the accounting person to choose whether they want it to go single or multiple approvers. And then beyond that, how does it go? Right. So how do we, if we're going to involve more than one person, should that be all at once? Everybody gets it, everybody takes a look, and if they want to have changes made, they just send it back, and it just kind of becomes this spider web of approvals and rejections and those types of things? Or is it really, the first person on the list really needs to approve a certain section, and then the other person is going to weigh in on the other section, and the two things are kind of sequential. So we have both a simultaneous and a sequential path for this standardized workflow. So added flexibility, even beyond that, allows for the requester. So I was a victim of this at one point. So, and not me directly, but because I am the one that originally built the process, I had my manager come to me shortly after we had implemented this internally, and it was like, wait a second, they sent this bill to me, Thursday evening at 6 o'clock in the evening, because our accounting team was working a little late, and I'm being held to a day turnaround, and I've already missed out on an entire business day. That doesn't seem fair, right? We'll call it fair. So what we did is we actually built into the process the ability for the accounting team to say, look, I understand I'm working late hours. You're not necessarily, maybe you are, but you're not necessarily working the later hours today. I'm going to delay that until the following day. So we've built in, using the functionality of the system, the ability to delay the request really until tomorrow, right? So send this out to the approver starting tomorrow, so the clock doesn't start ticking, right? You think about SLAs and how long does it take for people to perform their duties, your KPIs, and figuring out what that timing looks like. So really providing the additional flexibility for that, help to kind of elevate our process a little bit more as well. The other really cool thing about the Billing NeoFlow is that it provides the ability to send the invoice and only the approved bill to the specific client contact pulled from Costpoint. So we actually utilize the notes field within Costpoint to pull this information. But what it does is the process as it goes through. So you think about the way that business normally works. You've got an email and you've sent it to somebody. You said, hey, can you approve this bill before I send it out? Yeah, sure, approved. Then you're attaching and you're sending and all of this other thing. And then you push the button, you send it out, and lo and behold, you sent version 1, not version 3. Well, the NeoFlow for billing ensures that at the end of this process, you can have the system send that invoice, send that bill out to your client, out to your customer, and make sure that it is only the one that got approved. It is truly version 3, not version 1. And it will make sure that you now have a complete audit trail within the system to give a complete picture all the way from request and all of the data that's originally loaded up, all the way through sending it out to the customer without having to look through, without having to look through Outlook or endless emails to find when it was sent and who it was sent to and all of that. It now is all single threaded for that invoice to show who did what when, and to show exactly where it went and which version of the bill went out. So you're ensuring that it goes to the right person and that it is the right document that's actually going there. So with that, now that you have kind of a end-to-end picture of request through the end of sending it to the actual client, the other piece is what about the Costpoint workflow side of things? So I'd say for those who consider do I need workflow management or do I need just the workflow? So yes, you can get an approval flag in the Costpoint system, but really where the NeoFlow itself is what I just talked about. It's really about having the documentation of who did what, when they did it, and it helps to really increase compliance documentation, internal controls documentation, and you're really better served by a NeoFlow workflow inside of Integrify that are tied into the same Costpoint data, because a lot of the time what you find is that you are needing to kind of go across modules or across different areas, different systems, that kind of thing. And that's really where NeoFlows tend to shine. So a couple other things that I know that I'm supposed to cover. I've been told, hey, don't forget to cover this. So how long does it take to put the processes in place? So with the NeoFlows, we built them to be they're pre-built, standardized, ready to be configured. So with this one in particular, with billing, you can really have it configured in Integrify in under a day. And I'd say ready for production in under a week, because the process is not overly complex. It is really about just tying into the data, pulling the data, and making sure you have the right people involved. And those three things really come together pretty quickly. We, of course, during the implementation of all of our workflows, we offer different coaching and also documentation of kind of what it does and how it does it and exactly how it does it. So billing really, once you have Integrify in place to insert this NeoFlow in there, it really comes together very, very quickly. And then, what's the biggest pain point? That's always the other one that, like, hey, don't forget. So the biggest pain point, I mean, you kind of heard in the story that I shared earlier, but it really comes down to, time, right? So time to approve. So with reminders and escalations, so NeoFlow billing has the ability to have reminders, escalations built into the process. It really makes the follow-up on approvals proactive instead of reactive. So again, going back to the previous example of Outlook, right? So we sent this and said, hey, can you approve this? And then we wait. And then we realize it hasn't gone out yet. And then we follow up. Hey, did you ever get a chance to look at that? You either don't get a response or you do get a response and it's not what you wanted to hear. What, Bill? But the worst thing really to hear, within really any accounting department is, you have your CFO ask, hey, did that bill ever go out? Or maybe even your CEO, did that bill ever go out? It's not a question you want to answer going, I'm not sure. So that's really where billing makes it so that you are sure. You do know for sure, not only if it went out, but also when it went out, to whom it went out to, and you'll also know, the best part is you'll also know who took the longest to approve it. So it builds on the information in Costpoint to provide you the workflow that gives you the end-to-end billing process of getting the bill out the door. But it also provides, in the interim, in the middle of that process, it also helps to hold people accountable to what it is they're supposed to be doing within a process, so that you can help to make yourselves more efficient at getting the bills out the door so that you can get paid sooner. So I know that that's a lot. I know that there's a lot of information related to billing and all of that you probably have questions about. So what is it today that I haven't yet covered that you want to know a little bit more about? Again, make sure you hit that Q&A button. Go ahead and check real quick. Let's see. Do we have the delay capability on this process? Yeah. So the ability to delay a bill within the system is absolutely part of the NeoFlow process. So it's absolutely available in each version of the NeoFlow billing. So it may be that sometimes, depending on the way that the processes are set up. So what we bring is we say, hey, look, here's the billing process. We walk you through what that billing process looks like. From there, we then have the conversation. Are there any pieces, number one, that need to be changed slightly, right? Maybe a question needs to be worded different, that kind of thing. Or maybe there's a piece of the process that doesn't need to be there. So during the implementation, it could be that maybe we turn the delay capability on or off, that kind of thing. So for as they're implemented, make sure speak with your BPI team member who's helping you implement those, and really have that conversation about, hey, do we have that capability, and if not, can we put it back in? So always a good thing to have those conversations. It's really where the process tends to shine and become really more about your workflow, right? Because we bring the best practice, we bring the standards that we've seen numerous times to help you have a really good baseline for, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. It works really well for us. If we could only change this two things, or even without changes, we at least have something to start with. We can get it running right now, and then we can make continuous improvement over time. All right. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions. I absolutely make sure that if there aren't any other questions, then I invite you next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about vendor maintenance. I know that's a really big topic for a lot of people. In the meantime, if you do want more information, either about the billing process or any of the other ones that I've mentioned, or if you want to talk about actually seeing the system, having a demo, reach out to growahead@neosystemscorp.com. We'll make sure we get in touch with you to get that set up. Otherwise, everybody have a great time today. We'll join you next week for our coffee talk next Tuesday, same time, same place, and have a great and productive day.